Giratina EX is taking over the ranked meta right now, and in today's video, I'm going to show you what I believe is the best 20 card Giratina deck. With this deck, I'm quickly climbing through the ranks going towards Master Rank, managing to end the first day playing at Ultra Rank. The Pokemon package that the deck runs consists of 2 Giratina, 2 Darkrai and 2 Druddigon. The Druddigon is important because it allows you to safely build your Giratina and Darkrai on the backline, and even the 20 damage it does to attackers is enough to completely swing matchups. It's very important that you run 2 reds because a lot of matchups come down to needing red to one-shot key cards like Arceus, Gallade, Palkia and so on. Likewise, 2 leaf is a must so that you can retreat your Druddigon and start attacking as soon as possible. I like to run the 1 Iono because it helps to find your key Pokemon, Giratina and Darkrai, as soon as possible. The number 1 key tip I can give you for this deck is to make sure you are ramping your Giratina to 3 Psychic Energy as soon as possible. You don't want to find yourself in a scenario where you have only built up 2 energy, so keep in mind that sometimes it is actually correct to delay your Darkrai attack for 1 turn to make that happen. In the gameplay ahead, I do my best to over-explain every thought process I have, and you will definitely be able to learn how to play the deck correctly from watching. For tomorrow's video, I'm actually going to be showcasing what I believe is the best counter to this OP deck, so if that would interest you, make sure to subscribe to be notified of that. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and if you have any questions about the deck, feel free to ask in the comment section below. Now onto the gameplay. Let's jump into some Ultra Ball matches then. So we're going first against a water deck. We have the Darkrai start. So he is running the Vaporeon. Could also be doing some weird Phione shenanigans with Water Energy and Irida. But most likely it's Vaporeon, Palkia, Manaphy. So let's see. I really want to find Giratina right now. So I'm going to Iono. I'm not going to play even the Druddigon because we want to increase the odds of finding Giratina. It's really important that we start ramping him from turn 1. Now we can Pokeball. Giratina. Nice. That's really important that you start ramping him from turn 1. I'm just thinking about if I want to play the Druddigon to play around Sabrina. I think the answer is yes. Usually I would want to not play the 1 prize Pokemon and force him to take 4 prizes. However, I feel like we have a really good setup. It's going to be hard for him to take 3 prizes as it is. Okay, so he's running this. That's really interesting. I've never seen someone running this in an actual deck. So he can put our Pokemon to sleep. He does hit 2 heads on the Misties as well, so that's funny. So he's going to put our Darkrai to sleep, and he's hitting for 40 each turn. I mean, putting the Darkrai to sleep doesn't really do anything. I mean, he's not building a proper threat like Palkia, Origin Palkia, Articuno. So it seems like the Giratina is going to be able to just come in and sweep. We don't need to put the cape down yet, he has no way of doing 100. We'll just keep ramping the Giratina. Could have potentially leafed into the Druddigon, however, then we wouldn't have the leaf to leaf into Giratina at a later point, so I'm just going to let him keep hitting into the Darkrai. He does have the Palkia now, but it's going to be really slow to start ramping that up. Unless of course he has Vaporeon. So he hits us to 60. We keep waking up, but we're not going to wake up on the turn that it actually matters, I can tell. We need to wake up next turn so that we can do the 80 with Darkrai. Let's see, does Rocky Helmet do anything? Rocky Helmet doesn't do anything. So we're just going to place the energy and keep ramping Giratina. He could have red, which would allow him to do 60, so I am going to place the cape now. It is important that we have our Darkrai survive for an extra turn. Then we're going to Giratina. I'm not placing the Rocky Helmet on Giratina because if he happens to Sabrina, I'm going to send in the Druddigon to tank the hit anyway. I don't want to risk my Giratina falling asleep and not being able to hit for like multiple turns if that were to happen. Let's see. We do wake up. That's really good. So we could have retreated into Giratina to start hitting. However, I'm just going to start killing with Darkrai. I decided that was better. Every time Giratina hits, he does 20 damage to himself. And we want to try and find our second Giant's Cape. Bring Giratina to 170, so in the worst case scenario, he could tank the 150. He needs red. He didn't have red last turn. Well, he wouldn't have played it actually if he did have it. So he puts us to 10, that's really good. So now we can get an 80. Actually, we just have lethal. We can retreat into Giratina in red to do the 150. That's GG. We'll show him the red. This game came down to the fact that he was too slow to get his Palkia and start ramping it up. It gave us an advantage to start ramping our carries up way quicker. And that's GG. So we are going second into the fighting Pokemon. We only have Druddigon to start with, which is actually quite good into this matchup. Because they want to be hitting from the early turns and this slows them down massively. We really need to find Giratina. So that we can start ramping from turn 1. Okay, so we're versing a Garchomp deck. Could be EX, could be basic. There's the Giratina. So now the question is, do I Iono or do I research? What gives us the better odds of drawing Darkrai? This makes us see 2 cards. This makes us see 3 cards. So we're going to Iono here because Darkrai is really important to start ramping that up. Also Pokeball would be a good draw. We don't find Darkrai, but we do have Pokeball. 50-50 odds of drawing Darkrai, and we do hit it. Now we're off to a really good start here. We can start ramping both our carries. So we just need to worry about Garchomp now. Whether EX or basic. He could be running Garchomp EX, Lucario EX. Probably just running the basic Lucario, because that is a lot better in my opinion. But we'll see what he's gone with. I mean, if he doesn't have it, he probably doesn't want to be hitting with Rylu doing 20 while also dying next turn. So yeah, he's probably going to retreat, But now that he retreats, he's now taking 20 per turn onto his Gabite. In this matchup, we just need to focus on one-shotting the Garchomp when it eventually comes down and forces us into the main spot. So here, we always put the energy on Darkrai. If he's running the basic Garchomp, he can start doing 50 next turn to our benched Pokemon, which is kind of annoying. But there's no reason to place Cape down yet. I could Sabrina to slow him down another turn. I think ultimately Sabrina helps him, so I'm not going to do it. I think we just need to keep this Garchomp in the front spot, keep whittling away at it. Once the Garchomp is dead, the game should be won. And if he doesn't have the Garchomp, he's just dead right now. We'll bring the Darkrai in next turn with Leaf. So he does have Garchomp EX. So he is doing 50 to our back Pokemon. I wonder if it does 70. No, it only works on active Pokemon. So he's only doing 50. So he chooses to do the damage on Darkrai. Next turn he'll do another 50, but I think the play is to just sit another turn. Let's see. So if I was to bring in Darkrai now, I'd be doing 100 and putting him to 50. But I wouldn't be building energy onto the Giratina. And I feel like we do need the Giratina to start attacking at some point this game. So I'm just going to sit for a turn and build the third energy on Giratina. The reason you have to do it like this is because Giratina requires 3 psychic energy and you have to end your turn to get it, so if I was stuck on 2, I would never be getting a single Giratina attack, so this is definitely the correct way to do it. Next turn the Giratina can come in and one-shot the Garchomp anywhere, and he can never one-shot the Giratina because he's focusing his damage onto the Darkrai. And now we just one-shot. So we'll Leaf into Giratina. Obviously if he had Cape on his Garchomp this wouldn't have worked. So next turn, if he has Cyrus, he can do 60 onto Darkrai, so there's no point putting the Cape on it. That would be a complete waste. He's never threatening, so there's no point to put the Capes down at all. Unless you were worried about Mars, but I'm not too worried about Mars versus this fighting deck. If you were versing a Hitmonlee deck, they like to run Mars because obviously when you see Hitmonlee you don't want to play your basics down on the bench. So Mars can really disrupt your hand, but I'm not too worried about Mars here. Even if he one-shots the Darkrai, it's completely fine. Yeah, this is looking like game over. So now we just come in with the Giratina and one-shot the Lucario. That's 3 points. So even versus fighting decks, this deck destroys them. He was trying out a Garchomp deck, which was interesting, and he concedes. GG. Okay, going first versus a Dark deck. Could be the mirror matchup. Could be Darkrai Weevile. Most likely the mirror matchup, but they could also be running Magnezone. So we're going first, so we really need to find Giratina right now. Nice. So now we can start ramping him up. There's no need to play the Giant Cape right now. We'll save that for when it's relevant. So he really wants to find his Giratina right now if he is running it. He's going to start hitting us for 20. And ramping up his Giratina. If he doesn't have the Giratina, we're at a big advantage. He does have Pokeball. So we're hoping he finds Darkrai or his second Druddigon here. So he does have the Professor's Research as well. So there is a high likelihood that he has his Giratina now. He might have been thinking about Sabrina over Professor's Research, because pulling the Giratina in and doing 20 damage to it would be annoying. Then he could Cyrus it in at some point later in the game. But yeah, it seems like he doesn't have his Giratina. He does have the second Druddigon. So this is a really good start for us. You want to start ramping the Giratina as soon as possible. So we'll just place our energy and continue ramping. He really wants to have his second Professor's Research now, otherwise it's going to be hard for him to find the Giratina. And if he doesn't start ramping the Giratina right now, it's looking over for him. He is threatening the one-shot on the Darkrai next turn, so we're going to put the Cape down onto it. He would not be able to Leaf and Red in the same turn, so Darkrai will be safe for one turn. So we'll just place the Cape. Continue ramping both of the carries. We're in a really good position here. He can never ramp up the Giratina in time. He can't kill the Darkrai now, so next time we're going to kill his Druddigon. He's going to want to revenge kill the Darkrai. Does have Rocky Helmet on the Darkrai. I think that was a mistake playing that because he really needed the Giant's Cape. We have both reds in hand, so we're not going to Iono. We just need one red to win. We don't want to lose out on that. So yeah, I was thinking the only way that he could win was if he put Giant's Cape on this to go to 160. At best we could do 150 with the Giratina attack plus red. So the fact that he's put the helmet down makes me a lot more confident that this game's over. So now he's going to kill and we're going to one-shot. I don't really see what he can do. He does have the second Darkrai, but it doesn't really matter. Because he needs to kill the Darkrai now to even have a chance. So he can never retreat. And now we're going to come in with red and just one shot. But imagine if he had Cape on this instead of the back one, he would have won this game. Now we can just one shot. And he concedes. GG. Okay, so going second, versing a dark deck, so it could either be Weevile Darkrai or it could be the mirror matchup. We're forced to start Giratina in the starting spot, which isn't ideal. Usually you would prefer Druddigon or Darkrai, so you can safely build Giratina up onto the back. He's going to be pinging us with 20 damage per turn starting next turn, which is not what we want. So he does have double Pokeball into research. It's probably the Weevile deck then? Yep. So in this matchup we want to guarantee that we set up for one-shots every time. So we want to put 20 damage onto Darkrai and 20 damage onto Weevile somehow. We managed to get one Pokeball, so... Right, so now the play is we're going to Leaf into Darkrai so that our Giratina isn't taking any damage. In this matchup, Giratina's a lot more important than Darkrai because he can start sweeping later on in the game. He can take out everything in his path. We're not going to place the Rocky Helmet, actually. So he would need Leaf to retreat. I think we are going to put the Rocky Helmet just in case he starts attacking with Sneasel next turn. So for him, his best player looks like Leaf into Weavile and pushing damage. He's probably... Okay, so he does have all the pieces. Yep, so he's going to look to Leaf next turn and start hitting for 70. Plus the 20 will be 90 per turn. So we have at least 2 turns with our Darkrai. Let's see, I am going to play this Giratina to play around Sabrina, so we can keep our Giratina safe. And just keep slowly ramping up. If anything, he's on the clock because once Giratina comes in, it's going to start one-shotting everything. See, that was the downside of him playing Rocky Helmet so early. Now his Darkrai gets killed this turn. If he had the extra 20 health, it would have forced us to have red, which we don't have. So now he loses 2 points when, if he'd just been more patient, he would have been fine. Let's see, I think I am going to Iono here because we don't really need these 2 cards. We do want to find red ASAP, so we want to increase the chances of finding red. There's also 2 Professor's Researchers in our deck that we could find. So now we have to think because Giratina is currently only at 2 energy. So if I kill the Darkrai right now, he's going to come in and revenge kill. And the Giratina will not be able to attack again. He would fall to 140. and we would just spend one turn building up. He could never one-shot Giratina. He would do 20 plus 100 because it's super effective. So he would do 120. Okay, I think this is the play. Even with red, he puts us to 10. That gives us a chance to draw our giant cape, which we have 2 of. Otherwise, we just take the draw. Yep. So he one-shots Darkrai. We just end our turn building up the 3rd energy. He hits for 100 plus 20. If he has a red, that would be 140 total. So we survive on 10. Worst case scenario. And it leaves us 2 turns to try and find our cape. Sabrina is also a threat. So we're drawing a lot of cards. This is thinning our deck out, which increases our odds of getting cape later. So there's 7 cards left. So we have 2 in 5 chances of getting cape. Just going to place Darkrai. And build up. I don't place the Druddigon just in case he plays Iono, trying to put my hand back into my deck, and this is 1 extra card that could be Giant Cape or red. Actually, we don't need red, so we're just looking for Giant Cape. So he does have Mars, that sets us back. We just need Giant Cape. He even runs Potion. Okay. So we do need this red. He didn't have red, so we win. We're going to fall to 10, but that's completely fine. Now we one-shot him. All this happened because he put his Rocky Helmet on the Darkrai turn 1 without thinking too much about it. If he'd survived for an extra turn, things could have been very different for him. So we're going first into the grass matchup. So he's running Meowscarada. Probably a Celebi. Maybe Exeggutor. So let's see. We want to Professor's Research first to increase odds of finding Giratina. It's really important for this deck that you start ramping from turn 1. We do find it. In the event that you use Sabrina's, I don't want damage putting onto Giratina, so I could play Druddigon down. Most likely he wants to put Professor's Research down, so I'm going to hold the Druddigon for now. Plus he's not really doing damage anywhere, so I'll just end the turn with Giratina getting his energy. There's no need to put the Giant Cape down yet. So he draws 2. I imagine he's just going to do the ability and start getting grass Pokemon into his hand. Meowscarada can do 130 to EX, plus he's super effective to Darkrai, so he would be doing 150 per turn with Meowscarada. So we need to kill this as soon as possible. So let's see. What cards do we need in this matchup? I think we need both capes to win this matchup, and I don't feel like we need red as much, so I'm going to place my Giant Cape on the Darkrai so that he can survive potentially 1 turn longer. And then I am going to Iono to increase the odds of finding the second Giant's Cape. Okay. No need to place the Rocky Helmet yet, so we'll just end our turn. So he probably wants to start ramping up Celebi as soon as possible if he has it. I am curious to see what what other basics he is running. So he is running Exeggutor. Exeggutor has 160, so it's going to be tough to one-shot him. Wow, he's already doing 40 damage. So next turn his Exeggutor with heads can do 100 damage. There's not really too much we can do about that. I could retreat into Druddigon. Could retreat into Giratina. Thing is, the Darkrai is always at risk of being Cyrused in at this point, and it'll be one shot. If he has Meowscarada, the Darkrai is dead. I am going to retreat into... this is tricky. I think the best play is to not retreat. I think the play is to hope that he doesn't have Meowscarada. Because if we retreat, this Darkrai is always going to be at risk of Cyrus. And that would be a free 2 points from it later on in the game. He can always one-shot. So I think we just have to pray that he doesn't have Meowscarada, get the 80 damage off next turn. He's probably going to retreat into Exeggutor if he doesn't have the Meowscarada. Okay, so he doesn't have it and he doesn't retreat, so we can kill this now. Now we just need to kill Exeggutor. This puts us in a really good position. So at this point we just need to find the other Darkrai so that we can ping for 20, put him to 140. And then with red we can do 150 with the Giratina. If he has Cape on the Exeggutor, that no longer works. But we should be safe to get 2 hits off with Giratina anyway because he's never one-shotting the Giratina. We're not too worried about any other threats either because this does have a 3 retreat cost, so it's going to be hard for him to retreat, unless he's running Leaf. But I've noticed sometimes they don't run Leaf, they're just greedy. So yep, he kills the Darkrai. He could Sabrina, but he's never one-shotting. So Darkrai now seals the game. That would be a win with Darkrai. So the outs were Pokeball or just Darkrai straight up. Professor's Research wouldn't have done it. So we'll just play red and start hitting. I'm going to place the Rocky, let's see. So if he does 80, that puts us to 70. We'll be on 50 because we've hit ourselves. Then we'll have to hit again and we'll fall to 30. Even if he places Rocky Helmet, we'll be on 10. So we never need the Giant's Cape, so it's safe to play the Rocky Helmet. And that way if he has no healing, he's too scared to attack. Well, he just wouldn't be able to attack. I'm going to play the Giratina. Now we hit. We're putting him to 10. Most likely he does have Erica. But if he isn't dealing with the Giratina this turn, there's not really much he can do to survive next turn. Even if he Sabrinas, he's not one-shotting either of these Pokemon, and it's GG.